Hello, I'm FX Toycat, and once you have obsidian or even just a bucket, you're ready to go to a whole new dimension. But yet, statistically, most players never have. This is despite the best tools and armor being found there, the only way to beat Minecraft requiring going there, and more importantly, the best chest loot in the game all being found in there. Why is this? I think the simple answer is there are so many non-standard sources of damage, from full damage to fire to lava to explosions. There is all sorts of things that can kill you there, and so ultimately, why would you go? The answer is because it's the most overpowered place in the game, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to avoid all the scary things while getting all of the great things, even in a world where you fear everything might kill you. Oh, and if you want to learn more about Minecraft, even in the other dimensions, you might consider subscribing to the channel. I'd appreciate it a lot, but what you might appreciate is that all of the Nether is wonderful and beautiful, but it doesn't matter if you don't feel safe. So here's 5 quick tips that you're going to need everywhere in your Nether. One is to keep your Nether portal safe. I recommend building a big cobblestone wall around it. A portal room is always a good idea, but even the most simple one, made from the resources you mined in the overworld, will go very far for protecting you from ghasts, the maniacal screaming beasts that spawn in most of the biomes in the Nether, and most importantly, which can explode and ignite you, so making sure they can't hit you is important. Also, having just one way in and out is really great, not just for limiting which mobs can make it through, but also for making sure if any mobs do come through, there is only one way they can attack you from. Being overwhelmed is not going to happen here. Speaking of being overwhelmed, you might have an instinct, if you were to fall, to use your water bucket because it seems so cool, but actually this doesn't seem to work at all, and instead what you're going to need in the Nether is either to craft yourself a hay bale, or if you can find some twisting vines, they will work great too, but the hay bale is the closest thing you can use to a water bucket in the Nether. It doesn't reduce damage all the way unless it's a fairly short fall, but it will drastically reduce it a lot. You also want to always have a building block out on your hotbar, so when you come up to some pillars that you need to stack onto, you don't go into your inventory, start looking around it and realize it's going terribly. Make sure you have both food, which is important, but also building blocks, because these can be just as good, not just for building around this volcano-like terrain. Seriously, look at it. It's got lava pits, magma, as well as big pillars to get over, but also for anywhere you need to go, having a bunch of blocks on the ready will allow you to save your life. It will also allow you, importantly, to save your life when you're being attacked by a lot of stuff. You're not sure if you're going to make it out. I would always recommend having an escape plan, which should be your nearest flat wall. If you can find one of these walls, you just have to mine 2 blocks to get in, place some blocks behind you, and now you're safe from all non-invisible mobs. That is to say, every mob in the game shouldn't be able to attack you, but if there's a bug, maybe they do. But mostly you're going to be fine just behind here, and importantly, you'll be able to heal up on the slow process which Bedrock takes. Finally, regardless of which platform you're playing, you're going to want to go back through your Nether portal right when you come into the Nether. This is really unintuitive as a starter tip, like one of the first 5 really, Toycat, you're going to say go back to the overworld, but it's really important that you go here while you have all of your supplies and you're ready to deal with something crazy happening rather than doing it later. This is because Nether portal linking is an imprecise science, to say the least, especially because the overworld has 372 blocks in height while the Nether has just 128. It means very weird things can happen, and so I'm going through the portal expecting that maybe I'm going to spawn in a cave, but apparently it's actually in the middle of an ocean. This is something you have to look out for. Usually it won't be this far away and this high up in the sky too. What a weird Nether portal placement, but it is something you need to keep in mind, because if you were almost dead, having a drown throw a trident might be the last straw and might not be something that you want. Anyway, that is the 5 starter tips you need before any of the other this, but when you're in the Nether, it's important you know what you're exploring, because immediately upon loading up my world, I noticed there are multiple distinct places, and knowing which of these to head to is incredibly important. It actually seems as though I have 4 separate biomes at spawn, but let's go through and explain all of them, because although they want to kill you, they usually want to kill you in slightly different ways that you need to prepare for. There are 5 different biomes that make up the Nether, and I'm going to go through them all in ascending order of difficulty, because the easiest biome almost everyone agrees is the Warp Forest. It does have Endermen, which are one of the scarier mobs in the overworld, but as long as you don't look at them, this place is incredibly chill. In fact, it feels suspiciously empty sometimes when you listen to the music. This can be a good thing or a bad thing. The biggest downside to it is that mostly means there are fewer ores, because the ground is absolutely covered in this warped nilium instead. So honestly, it makes it kind of a rough place to come through if you're trying to get major resources. However, it doesn't stop it from having one of the handiest items in the entire game, and that is the twisting vines. So look at the striders over here. These twisting vines right here will allow you to prevent all full damage simply by falling onto them. To show you how that works, let's hope we get some. Okay, there we go. And now I can show you that it works exactly the same as a hay bale, but with the fun caveat of 0 full damage whatsoever. Just land on the vine and you slowly get dragged down. However, breaking vines has a very low chance of resulting in more, so you want to make sure you harvest as many as you can while you're here. And then also, it should be kept in mind that this is one of the few places to get wood, so make sure you get it while it's good. Oh yeah, and as far as food goes, there is absolutely none to be had here. Outside of maybe some mobs that wander in from outside biomes, you're not going to find any major sources of food, so this is a great place to chill temporarily, but ultimately you're always going to need to be very prepared, because although this is the safest biome in the Nether, it still very much is the Nether, so watch out. Although, do keep in mind, this is the best place for Nether portal linking, but we'll come back into that more after we go into the second least dangerous biome, the Crimson Forest. This is a biome which has one of the best food types in Minecraft, a food that's so good people eat it in the overworld, but it spawns right here in the form of this chunky boy. Funnily enough, you're not the only one who wants to kill him, because a big pack of piglins can spawn here, and although this is very useful for getting a preloaded crossbow, I would say that you're going to want to watch out for these and follow those 5 Nether tips I gave you in the beginning, because this isn't a one-time thing. This happens more often than you might think. So the same idea applies to hoglins. Try and get them to a point where they can't attack you, but unlike the piglins which can attack from afar, there is only a melee attack on the hoglins, and although it hurts, the simple thing is that you have a further range than the hoglin does, meaning you can stack yourself up and attack him in a place where he can't attack you, getting you the precious pork chops that you're desperately looking for. With that said, you can then cook these up later or light him on fire to get cooked pork chops now. This means that there are 2 valuable resources. There are piglins, if you choose to trade with them, and there's hoglins, which drop both pig chops and leather. They're definitely called pig chops, I'm sticking by that. You know what else I'm sticking by? The crimson wood which is found here is definitely worse than warp wood, especially now we have mangrove planks. When you want red planks, those are the ones you go with, but if you are on the Nether and desperately need wood, you can get both wood and food here, making it the most livable biome if you don't mind a bit of a challenge. The third biome is the Nether Wastes, which is definitely a very mid-tier. It's the old Nether, and it's famous for having ghast. It's the hardest or easiest biome on this list that does have those, but at least it's fairly neutral terrain otherwise. You'll find glowstone fairly easily here. You'll find gold easily here, because the entire biome is coated in netherrack, which means that any form of ores or mushrooms or anything like that is easy to find, and you'll also find piglins here, which might be preferable if you want to find them in small groups away from hoglins and trees, and so you can know where they are, keeping them safe and at bay. This is something that's handy when you don't have any gold armor on. However, because it's so easy to find nether gold ore here, because there's so much netherrack, why not just mine a few blocks? You only need to get 36 little nuggets, and then you can turn that into 4 ingots, and you can make some boots, which is enough to satisfy the piglin's curiosity, makes you think you're one of them, and makes them less likely to murder you. What isn't less likely to murder you, though, is the 4th biome. So you still get ghasts here, but you also have magma cubes as an additional fun mob. These are interesting because you have to kill them to get a fire resistance potion, so you might want to come here specifically for that, and you also might want to come here specifically because of the fact that it has basalt in large quantities, as well as blackstone. Blackstone can be found across the rest of the Nether, but it's most common right here, and so if you want to craft stone tools, or you want to just use basalt for things, and you don't mind the ridiculous risk that this volcano-like biome provides, then sure, come right here. It's definitely hated by many people. Many people would say it's the worst biome in the Nether, and the fact that it can't spawn some structures definitely adds to that, but I would say it's at least an interesting time to come through, and as long as you're ready for the magma cubes and their very OP double attacks per second, you can do pretty fine. However, a 1 bad ghast blast followed by magma cubes will almost certainly be your doom, so be prepared to rest in a corner somewhere and wait literally minutes for your health to heal up, because Bedrock has slow regeneration. However, it could be worse. You could be in a soul sand valley. I'm not going to dignify this with a full visit, but I will say the soul sand valley does contain skeletons, bone blocks in the form of fossils, as well as having soul soil and soul sand. These are both handy blocks for later in the game, I'd say, but they're particularly handy because you can light them on fire, making blue fire. This means you can also craft them to make soul torches and soul campfires, and even soul lanterns if you're that sort of person, which is a low light level source, which might be handy for atmospheric lighting in the overworld. For most people, however, this is an immediate skip of a biome. You won't want to come here, and you won't need to come here for most reasons until later in the game, and you especially shouldn't want to come here until you have the soul speed enchantment. Honestly, the biggest reason for the soul sand valley and the basalt shelter to exist seems to be to either get you out on the other side or to make you appreciate the other biomes more, and indeed the only reason I really ever traverse through them is while looking for structures, which we'll come back to after the more important reason to use the Nether, because although Nether structures are incredibly powerful, there's one thing which is more insane about the Nether, and its ability to link portals. One of the more surprising facts about the Nether and the entire dimension and structures that are contained are that the most useful functions for the entire place is often found in traversing the overworld. To explain this, let me show you something crazy. This is a portal a very far distance away from my original one, and if I wanted to walk that 1,000 blocks or so between this and that original portal, it would take me about 250 seconds at 4.3 meters a second. It will take me much more to go down the mountains into boats, etc., but if I use the Nether just like so, look how quickly I can go between this portal and my original one. You can look at the coordinates if you don't believe that these portals are far apart, but just like that, I have now traveled this many blocks in literally this many seconds. That is absolutely wild, and this is a function of one-way Nether portal linking, but if you do two-way Nether portal linking, the much more popular type, you can also do something crazy, and you can travel 8 times faster than you ever can in the overworld. This is because the Nether is effectively a shrunken down version of the overworld, so for every 1 block you travel in the Nether, you travel 8 blocks in the overworld. This means that if you take enough obsidian to make a second portal in with you to the Nether, which is why diamond pickaxes can be pretty handy, or at the very least looting a bunch of ruined portals, but it's very handy to bring some obsidian with you into the Nether, because then you can traverse the overworld very, very quickly. If you have a nice smooth section of the Nether, and this is certainly smoother than an ocean and a mountain and all the stuff you were going through before, you can travel now just 150 blocks in the Nether. You can build yourself a portal, as we'll do right over here, I think, and then this portal will do something incredible, which is that when I get inside of it, it will take me very far away. If we do the basic maths on minus 160 times 8, we get roughly these coordinates, which means that, wow, we spawned all the way over, what is this, like over 1,200 blocks away from that initial point in an entirely different biome. Instead of being a taiga next to a mountain, now it is a plains biome next to a forest. This is something called Nether portal linking, and it's very valuable for making Nether portal hubs and linking different parts of your overworld very closely and easily together. If you're looking for an overworld biome that you know is going to be far away, using the Nether to travel is a really smart way to do that, but also a smart way to connect things that you've already found that are, oh wow, thunder in this world? I look for thunder for so long in some worlds, and then it just happens by accident while recording, but the point is to say that while you are desperately looking for some biomes, or while you're trying to connect things that you've already found that are very far apart, the Nether is the only way you should be doing this. Okay, so I've been exploring my overworld. I went over 3,000 blocks and found a village in a meadow biome, which is nice for finding dandelions. I found a woodland mansion, look how realistic it is, and even more realistically, a ocean monument all in one place. I would like to travel back here very regularly, but how am I going to be able to do that all? The answer is Nether portal linking. Build yourself a Nether portal all the way over here, and then all you gotta do, maybe not this close to lava, although I guess you just make sure you don't fall in there basically, and then all you need to do is check your Nether coordinates and work out these versus your other ones, and then build a tunnel between this and those. This is fairly easy to do and means all you need to now travel is not 3,000 overworld blocks but 400 Nether blocks. Make this tunnel easy to traverse even, and you make it like a nice easy straight line, and you can do some incredible things and make it so that a journey that should take, what, 3,000 divided by 4 for 4 meters a second, 750 seconds can become 400 divided by 4, 100 seconds. A journey that could take you 12 minutes can take you 1 minute, and bear in mind anything you do to increase this speed, like an elytra, a boat, or anything like that, will also stack in this exact same way. It's also, if it's an incredible way to explore the overworld, and you can do this both ways. Explore the overworld by using your Nether, or get around your overworld by using your Nether, but this 1 to 8 scale linking is one of the most incredibly powerful things in Minecraft, and you should be taking full advantage. But let's get closer to our regular part of this world, because it is very important we get back there, so we can start talking about the structures. because spawning in every single biome except the basalt delta is this a Bastion. So there are 4 different varieties of the Bastion. If you want, you can count those 4 different structures. I think they all are very unique in how you want to take them down, but the most valuable of all the 4 is the one I conveniently have today, which is the bridge, or rather the magma cube spawner Bastion. This is a really important one. You can notice it from the outside because it has these giant lava pits over here, which seems redundant. You're in the Nether, guys. You don't need to keep your own lava pits, but it has these big lava pits between 2 structures. Both sides of this have their own value. The left side has a bunch of gold. Indeed, the bridge has a couple of pieces of gold, and the right side has a lot of loot, including a guaranteed netherite upgrade. And then even more importantly than that is the fact that in this structure you can find netherite ingots themselves. So yeah, there are multiple variants of this structure, but all of them are interesting because they have a unique mob that only spawns here, the piglin brute. Do you remember how piglins don't care about you as long as you wear a piece of gold? Apparently the piglin brutes are even fussier. Oh, there we go. So the Nether, I love how they added a trading ability. That's right, let me show you something really fun you can do really easily with this structure. I'd recommend doing it outside this structure if you're beginning to get into the Nether, but just to show you that you can do it anywhere, including the place where there are dudes who literally want to kill you, let me show you something fun. So let's grab some cobblestone, and let's show you how you can get some gold, and you can, okay, so let's grab the gold real quick, get out of there. Oh no, gonna make myself a stack out. Is he going to get over here? He's not going to get over here. Okay, we're fine. That was scary. But let me show you something fun. We can take this gold block we just stole from the piglins, and we can do something pretty unique, in my opinion, with it. And we can use that gold block to trade with other piglins. So, again, this guy will not trade no matter what. This guy, he's just a bummer on the party. He just wants to break your shield, and now there's 2 of them. Well, that's real fun. But I can take this gold that I've just found, and I can give it to this fella right here, either by dropping on the ground or directly handing it to him. When I hand him gold, he hands me something random. This is his definition of how trading should work. Again, it's like going into Subway and saying, you know, here's $5, give me anything, and then the person at Subway being like, I've given you a goat. It works the same way, and as long as he doesn't die while he's trading, man, piglin brutes are mean, huh? You can get some really cool stuff, which is what subscriber Black Shadow Speed recommends, and they've been a fan since the start. Which, you know, thank you for having liked the video since its beginning. That was a full few minutes ago now. But yeah, this is one of the valuable things that Bastions can provide, but they are very scary places. So for early game players, I'd say avoid this place until you've got some decent gear, because one wrong hit and you're dead. Anyway, the important thing to keep in mind is that the Bastion is just one of 2 structures found in the Nether. This one is a purely supplementary place where you can find gravel, magma cube spawners, indeed netherite upgrades, all valuable things that can help you out, but the other one is much more essential because you literally can't beat Minecraft without coming to a Nether fortress. In fact, 2 of the game's bosses both require ingredients only found here. You need blaze rods, which only come from blazes, to make eye fenders to go to the end, and then also if you want to fight the Wither, you'll need Wither skulls, which only come from Wither skeletons. Both mobs only spawn around the fortress. The Wither skeletons spawn exclusively in the structure itself. They're very, very weird in how you actually lock down their spawning. Meanwhile, at the exact same time, after we make some mushroom stew, I can show you something fun, which is that blaze spawners exist here too, and these blaze spawners are the best way to get blazes. Not just because you can guarantee they'll spawn there, but also because they spawn in a very limited place, and I recommend bringing a shield if you're going to do this, by the way. And if you're not going to bring a shield, make sure to always make yourself some relatively safe places, because fiery projectiles do some bad things to you. Ah! I don't think anyone should be surprised to learn that. So my recommendation for staying safe from these guys is simply to build yourself little things like this in the Nether. This stops Wither skeletons coming through, but most importantly, if you build them with the finished blocks complete there is no way for magma cubes to get over, meaning that as long as you don't keep your guard down, you will be able to stay safe long enough to eat the mushroom stew or whatever food you brought with you to survive. This is the important thing when going around fortresses, limiting which mobs can get to you, because by default the tunnels are 3x3, which is very dangerous to me. So yeah, come into the outside part of the structure, find blaze spawners and get all the blaze rods you need, and then head out of here. But what is the strategy for the Nether fortress, you might ask? Well, one is to avoid big open spaces like this one. I recommend going into the inside part of a Nether fortress. This is where the best things are found, and indeed where you are going to want to be found as well. So I recommend just get in on top of there, and once you're on top, you can break your way in. It's a little bit scary, I'll admit, but once you're inside here, just make sure there is no way for mobs to get to you, and you'll be entirely fine. Remember, there is an inside and an outside part of the Nether fortress, and all of the good loot is found inside inside here. So yeah, getting inside is the best way to deal with this place. After, of course, you get your blaze rods. However, this raises the question of if the best loot is in here, where else can you find great loot in the Nether? The chests in a Nether fortress have traditionally been some of the best. You can get gold, iron, weapons, and even smithing templates, which is wonderful. Even diamonds and nether warts are up for grabs, which can be really useful by themselves, but it's no longer the king of Nether loot. Because the king of easy to obtain loot has to be the ruined portal, where you can find golden apples, golden armor, and indeed golden pickaxes and all sorts of other wonderful things with basically no effort required whatsoever, besides maybe some inventory management. While the best structure for overall loot has to be the Bastion, which has so many gold blocks on the outside of it, while the inside has much more valuable loot in the form of more gold blocks, as well as a magma cube spawner, the only place you can find it, a netherite upgrade, diamond armor, sometimes netherite scraps, or even a netherite ingot. You get insane loot from these places, and they are some of the most valuable in the game. Also, yes, for this structure, I totally had to switch to peaceful, or I would be murdered with no armor. Something you should definitely keep in mind is this place is a bit murder heavy. But yeah, it's not just one chest you'll find here too, by the way. All around the edges, you'll find chests, which can include incredibly enchanted swords, a bunch of arrows, magma creams, so you don't have to go to the basalt delta, gilded blackstone, okay, that's maybe not so useful, and blocks of iron. There are all sorts of goodies just sitting around waiting for you to take, and all you need to do is go to a bastion, and indeed, they are very, very, very stacked in terms of loot, but also stacked in terms of defenses. So keep that in mind. This is where the best loot in Minecraft is found, and therefore you might be saying, so what's the strategy for this? And the strategy is come in with a hay bale and hope for the best, or more realistically, try and either get it from below or around, or take them out one by one. I've used all sorts of these strategies before, but all you need to keep in mind is that this is a scary place that you should maybe come back to when you have some more armor, or if you want the more practical advice, make sure that enemies can only attack you from one place at a time, because piglin brutes are terrifying when they hit you, but they can't hit you if they only have one angle to do so. And so I always recommend like having nice little pathways or bridges or ways where realistically you can only be attacked by ranged weapons, and then of course keeping yourself safe from those very same ranged weapons. And then you can mine gold to your heart's content. Speaking of your heart's content, I think it's important to mention something else that the Nether has exclusively. So the mobs of the Nether are terrifying, but how exactly do you deal with them? Well, I think it's important to mention all of the mobs' strengths first. These are, of course, piglin brutes. They can attack you through shields. Let me show you that right now. One attack from them will bounce off your... Wait, actually, that one didn't seem to break it. But one attack breaks your shield, and then it makes it impossible for you to defend from other mobs. This is very, very, very bad, and why you should probably avoid piglin brutes at all costs. Other piglins are not able to do this exact same thing, but it is important to make sure you attack them at the right frequency if you want to use your shield. So piglin brutes do a lot of damage and can attack through shields, so don't think one of these will actually protect you. Instead, you need to attack them from specific angles at specific times, so I think building a little doorway right over here is a great example of that, or you can go a step further and build something like this. Whatever it is that you need to build to keep safe and attack from only one angle, it's something you need to build. Piglins, on the other hand, are relatively easy to keep safe from if you don't attack a piglin brute. Piglins will only attack you if you're not wearing gold armor, or if you mine gold blocks, or if you attack a piglin brute, or indeed any other piglin. And so what you need to do is avoid attacking a piglin brute. How do you do that though, given that they're so scary? Well, after I make some mushroom stew, allow me to show you a fun little thing, because most Nether mobs are immune to lava. If you try to use them on a magma cube, or a ghast, or a wither skeleton, or a blaze, they laugh at you, but when you try to use them on a piglin brute, they don't seem to know it's there, but yet they burn from it anyway. So that covers piglins and piglin brutes. Piglins can be covered by don't attack them and they don't attack you if you're wearing gold, but even with striders, even if you attack them, they won't attack you back. So don't even you consider killing them, unless you desperately need string, that is. I'm sorry, I know you have children, but you dropped something quite valuable to me. Also, something to keep in mind is that ghasts and magma cubes, I mentioned before, they're lava proof, not that you could really easily use one, but ghasts are very easy to kill. They just require any ranged weapon, because they specifically try to avoid physical attacks, so it's going to be hard for you to get one. Ghasts are a mob which can be avoided, which is actually my main advice for magma cubes. Unless you're in a situation where they're backing you into a corner and attacking your base, don't engage with magma cubes. They are the only mob where killing them makes them more powerful because magma cubes can attack you twice per second. To show you what that looks like, I hate that I'm gonna have to do this. Here's one attack from a magma cube, there's a second one. There's meant to be a 1 second cooldown between stuff attacking you, a delay to make it fair, but because magma cubes are designed to swarm you, they can go through this cooldown, which is preposterous. So genuinely, ignore magma cubes is my full-on advice. You don't need to kill them. There's once you've got a few magma creams, you're probably good for life, so just avoid them. Look how easily I'm doing it. I can run right past them, even through lava, multiple times, and it's still easier than engaging with them and having them split into multiple copies of themselves, which can damage you more than when there were fewer of them. So that is now every Nether mob besides the Hoglin, where you stack up. Meanwhile, your best way to stay safe from other mobs, including the Wither Skeleton and the Enderman, is simply to have a gap they can't go through. Both of these mobs are 3 blocks high, which means when you're under a 2-block surface, they won't be able to attack you. In fact, you can take this a step further and say every mob can be limited by the space you're in. This was the idea of protecting your portal, which is why it's such a good idea, because magma cubes can't get into a surface that is this small, meaning you are safe from them. Ghasts won't be able to spawn here, and indeed, if you want to protect yourself from Wither Skeletons and Endermen, just make a 2-block high gap, but you can extend this to every other mob in the game if you simply make some slabs, because slabs allow you to make a 1.5 block high gap, which no mobs will be able to fit through besides, actually I'm curious if the Blaze can, but none of the other mobs will be able to fit through. This means that if you're in a little bit of a rough situation and you want to get out of it, which maybe, just maybe describes where I am right now, if you're in a real rough situation and you want to make sure that only you can go through a gap, simply place a slab up the top of it and see how that goes for you. Let's see if blazes can fit through the hole though. If they can fit through, they certainly don't know how to, which means, boom, we have just worked out a way to avoid every single mob. You make a 1.5 block hidey hole, and then when you want to go through there, you just crouch through later, attack them, then get out of there, and so on and so forth. If they're going to attack, we could use our shield, or we can use our positioning. Everything in the Nether is ultimately about these things. Either don't take damage or position yourself so there's no mob to take damage from to begin with. And then you can get your hands on all the goodies. I am entirely out of food, by the way. I ate the golden apple earlier, and it's not looking good for me otherwise. But indeed, despite this no food situation, I can still make my way out of it. This is the important thing about the Nether, is to minimize your exposure. I want to go back through there to get to my portal. I think it's over through there and then up. And the easiest way, it looks like it's to go right through that, but that would lead me into Wither Skeleton, Zombie Pigmen, Blazes, Magma Cubes, and probably Ghasts by the time I got over there. So instead, do something clever and walk behind the walls. If you go in, if you cave through the Nether, you don't have to deal with any of that. This is actually surprisingly hard to get through. If you cave behind a biome or behind the walls, now there is no way mobs will spawn here because you're literally tunneling into new experiences. There is a chance of you running into magma while doing this, but as you can see, it's now much safer for me. And if I grab the Netherrack, we'll see if I can make it to my portal alive. It looks like, again, I've got 5 hearts. I've got no healing left. Will I be able to do it? My brain says no, but my heart says yes. So this blaze we're going to avoid simply by using a shield. My shield does have durability. Always check before doing life or death situations with it. Same with an Elytra. But yeah, we're just going to look at okay, we're going to look at the blaze. Make sure he doesn't light up a block that is directly around us. And then we're going to shield ourselves in a little hole like this, bringing us down to quite nicely, in my opinion, a very respectable, definitely great and wonderful and what everyone wants. Gonna make a little tidy hole. 1 heart remaining. And then we're gonna tunnel below this biome in the direction of my portal. Ah! Again, just keep the tunnel going, making sure not to expose it where it's not necessary. So grab another pickaxe. If you don't have one of these, the cool thing about a basalt delta is it does give you a lot of blackstone, so at least you got access to all of that. And then tunnel all the way under and in the direction of your portal. It's a good idea to write down the coordinates in chat. Sadly, all I've got in there is an exchange about how important gold is, but and how I should totally talk about it in my Nether video. But yeah, if you just mine in the direction that you think your portal is, you might find something you recognize. And as long as you use tunnels like this, maybe with regular gaps to make sure that nothing else can come through after you. Oh, that doesn't help anything, actually. But if you go through tunnels like this, you will be entirely safe. Although I would recommend mining backwards from the Netherrack you're mining. There are random pouches of lava found in the Netherrack caves. And so if you mine back a little bit, when you see them, you'll have room to dodge them and not immediately die and have all your stuff burn. And maybe if you're playing hardcore, your whole world would go away, right? That would be tragic. Being at 1 heart in the Nether is not where you want to be, so I recommend having armor just to prevent this. I recommend, indeed, actually, I've got some hay bales. I could totally craft those. clothes. No, I can't. No crafting table. Darn. But what I just recommend doing is making sure that you can avoid this situation. But if you ever end up in it, just know that you do have a backup. And if you are really scared of the Nether and you're scared of losing all your stuff, don't use this as your backup. Use it as your main option. There is always a slower, safer way to do things. And if you're willing to just look, okay, there is my portal. Can I make it over there in time? I just have to, okay, there we go. We're gonna be fine. I've even got some red mushrooms for food. That is my Nether portal, and I am seconds away from declaring victory and saying that I made it out of the Nether despite being hundreds of blocks from my my portal, and I managed to make it out of here alive. Although, again, in kind of a weak condition, given that I really would like to get back to my main village where I scavenge all this stuff to begin with. But yeah, I hope that, wait, is it over there? Yeah, way over there. That's my original portal that I went through. That's my original village where I scavenged the ingredients that I managed to make my Nether work from. And ultimately, this entire video has shown that even with nothing on you, you can survive the Nether. Even when you're just about dead and you're counting it out and you're saying there's no way you can do this, if you just play things a bit safer, you can always survive the Nether. And honestly, this is a useful tip to keep in mind. Another useful tip would be build the bridge before you need to do this, not after. And I guess an even more useful tip would be Mojang, please fix the game. But go vote on the bug report about weird floating portals, because it's so far away from the one that I placed down. Look how picturesque my island is, and to get back there, I'm gonna have to go through all of this. Anyway, this has been your ultimate guide to going through the Nether. I hope that I've convinced you that it is an incredibly powerful dimension, not just in terms of the damage it does to you, but also the things that you can get out of it. I don't know if I took the Netherite upgrade with me, but if I did, I'd be able to go straight from having no armor to going up to Netherite armor, which is just insane to be able to say. And if you'd like to be able to say that, make sure that you give the Nether a shot. Again, I want to get those statistics up. There are currently also, oh, I thought they were drowns, but they're zombie pit villagers. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you found it useful. It'd be funny if I die to all of these guys now. But yeah, if you enjoyed, please do like the video and let me know. Consider subscribing if you want to learn more about Minecraft. I want to give some more of these, you know, like all-encompassing guides to more areas of the game that I think people would get use from. So I think stuff like, you know, strongholds and the end and all sorts of structures could really benefit from that. Let me know if it's something you'd like to see. And for now, I guess I have to... How did that kill me? That was a free block full. Anyway, thank you for watching. Just remember to stay safe until the end. Goodbye.